Shalom friends, today is Chai Elul, the 18th day of the month of Elul, the final month of the year, and Chai, the 18th, means in a certain respect this is when the spiritual life force comes into our month. And today is the birthday of the Ba'al Shem Tov, Rav Yisrael ben Eliezer Vasara, the founder of the Chasidic movement, and really the founder of the stream of Judaism from which we here at AJS draw very extensively. Many of our teachings are based on what he himself said or what his students said or their students and so on. So what was so special about the Ba'al Shem Tov that we are even remembering him, talking about him? May his merit protect us. May we walk in the path that he set forward for us. What was that path? And how could it have so easily been, actually, that he would be almost unknown? Could have easily been that he would just be a tiny footnote in Jewish history that almost no one would know about. Well, what happened was he was born approximately 1700, and he was very poor and lived a very hard life. He was an orphan raised in the care of the community, and he lived as a wandering teacher and healer for many years. And eventually, when he was around 40 years old, people began to appreciate his gifts as a teacher, as a mediator, a very skilled mediator between people, and as someone who was healing not only on the physical level, but also on the spiritual level. And he began to attract followers. Some of these followers began to be learned rabbis, even though his approach to Torah was in some ways very radical and very novel. In some ways, we could say he was simply drawing on our tradition in a very authentic way, but in the context he was in, at least, it was very new. What was the context and what was so new about it? The context was a place called Podolia in Eastern Europe, in what we now call Ukraine, in that region, in the 1700s, where life had been very tough in just about every way we can imagine for Jews for hundreds of years. It had it very bad. If you Google it, you'll find a list of terrible things that happened to them: massacres, pogroms, false messiahs who many people followed, and so on. They'd been destabilized. Their institutions had to start over and over again from being wiped out completely by war, by persecution. It was a very weak and downtrodden community. People had been forced to move many times, ruled by powers who were very unsympathetic and so on. And the Ba'al Shem Tov came and he said, if we're going to do this whole Judaism thing, which he saw as imperative that we do, it's who we are, it has to be done with real connection to our inner life and with enthusiasm and passion and joy. He told a story, and he told it, we think it seems clear from testimony, he told it in many different contexts to many different people. And the story is, there's a goldsmith who has an apprentice, and the apprentice writes down a list of all the different steps of what it takes to be a good goldsmith and make the perfect product in the way that the great goldsmith should do it. But the apprentice forgot to write down at the top of his list that first of all, there has to be a fire and a spark to work with. And the Ba'al Shem Tov says that is the way that we are doing Judaism right now. We are doing what the Code of Jewish Law, the Shulchan Aruch, says. We are doing our best to follow what the halakha, the path of Jewish practice and Jewish law is, as best we can. But we have lost touch with simcha, with joy, with passion, with enthusiasm, and with the vitality behind what we're trying to do. And we've lost touch with the fact that we are in a direct relationship with Shekhinah, with the Infinite One, with the Divine Presence in everything we're doing. And this was very revolutionary and very popular and caught on very quickly. Within a few generations, this has spread to tens of thousands of people and then hundreds of thousands of people. And that's why he's remembered and we're talking about him. That's why it's not just a tiny footnote. It spread eventually to millions of people. Eastern European Jewry was taken over by this movement, which he didn't really seem to plan a movement. That was really his follower, his student, his disciple, the Maggid HaMezrich, who took over from him after him, who started planning, arranging the ideas systematically, and then sending teachers out to different places to teach them in different communities. That's how it spread. The Ba'al Shem Tov didn't do any of that. He just walked around, being himself, traveling around a lot, being with regular people, learning from the people he was with, learning from nature. He spent a lot of time in nature. And then eventually, as I said, getting recognized to the point where people wanted to come and learn from him, even very learned rabbis, because it was clear his approach to Torah, that emotional and spiritual and psychological depth, the pnimiyut, the inner life of a human being being connected to Torah, that was what was missing. That was what people were thirsty for. He said, when we look at the Torah, when we read any passage in the Torah at all, we're reading our own autobiography, not just biography, because we co-create that depending on where we are, on our perspective, on what's going on with us, on what we're able to see and what we're able to learn and what we're able to receive. So for him, the Torah is a reflection, it's a mirror back to us of what's going on in us and our inner life. And we should always be trying to live in relationship, again, with Shekhinah, with the Divine Presence, with the Infinite One, the Ein Sof. It's not just about jumping through hoops, doing what we're told and hoping one day we get into the world to come. It's not about some idea of reward that is to come after. He said the reward for a mitzvah, a good deed or connection or commandment, he said the reward for a mitzvah is the experience we have of doing it in the moment. These are all some of his key teachings. So may we be blessed to bring some of his spark, his enthusiasm, his passion into our lives. And this week is a great week to do it. We're in the week of Parashat Tavo. We have in Tavo a very, very hard list of curses, of things that will happen to us if we do not follow the Torah. It's one of the two tochachas, the two rebukes in the Torah, where we're told if we don't follow the right path, this is a list of bad stuff that will happen. There's also good stuff that will happen if we do the good stuff, but that list is much shorter because it's much simpler. Well, in the tochacha it says, in Devarim, in this week's Parsha, in chapter 28, it says, all of this bad stuff is befalling you, will befall you, because you did not serve Hashem, the Infinite One, with simcha, with joy, and with a good heart, with gratitude for the abundance of what you've been given. And that's a very interesting statement to make, because when we look back at Jewish history, not everybody lived with the kind of abundance that we might think today we might associate with abundance, lavish material wealth and abundance and so on, and great comfort and safety. But I think what it's saying is, wherever you are, whatever your situation, whatever struggles or challenges you have, our work is to serve as much as possible with simcha, with joy, and with gratitude for what is, and with gratitude for the abundance of blessings that we have wherever we're up to, whatever the challenges are. And even when we cannot be besimcha, in a joyful state, and even when things are hard to the point where we are somewhat emotionally restricted, to still find, and this is another key teaching of the Ba'al Shem Tov, I'll end with this, even when we're not in connection and inspiration in simcha, when things are not so easy, to find a kind of equanimity, an equilibrium, and even an inner simcha, even with that. So that's being besimcha, even when we're not besimcha. What I mean is, even when we can't be outwardly joyful, or even when things are very challenging, and even when we feel disconnected, to find within ourselves a place of resource, that is a place, again, of equilibrium, of equanimity, of balance, and of inner joy, of acceptance of what is, so we can start again in a positive way. It's a very, very important teaching from him and his students. May it be so. May we bring these teachings into our lives. May it be a good week for us. May we hear good news for our people very soon, please God. Shabbat Shalom.